Oh boy, my friends, welcome back. Ooh, feels good to be back. Inside Star Citizen is back, so we're getting some weekly updates on what's going on with the development. I, as always, love to watch these with you. If you have waited or haven't gotten the chance to watch it yet, welcome. I look forward to going through this for the first time with you. We're going to check out the new update. It's on the Lorville expansion coming in 3.19. Let's set our expectations, though. This is going to be a Skyline update. We're not looking at anything gameplay related. This is basically all art in prep for stuff coming later in the year. We'll talk more about that in the video coming out later this week. And just, interrupting this video, but I'm sure you're ready to get to it. Let's look at what Lorville is going to look like in the next update. How's sound? You guys good?
In 2865, Hurston Dynamics purchased a planet in the Stanton system and began the process of looking for their capital, being careful not to build on the resource-intense areas they bought the planet for in the first place, because you gotta leave all that free for the mining after all. Now, during that search, they designated one particular area already filled with structures that house the on-world workers by the three-letter
lighting
designation
look different in there now?
LOR,
Looks a little darker, huh?
an acronym for the rather dismissive title Local Occupational Residency. And after essentially requiring all of their workers to live there, because it makes it easier to keep an eye on everyone, the town eventually gathered an unofficial temporary nickname. And as anyone that's ever built something huge and complex can tell you, there are few things in life more permanent than an unofficial temporary nickname. Now eventually,
Especially at
the
your
Hurston
expense.
family made this the center of all commerce and residence on the planet. And thus, Lorville continued to grow and expand and be built upon. And in the upcoming Alpha 3.19, it's taking its next major step forward towards becoming the thriving, brutalist cityscape old Solomon Hurston would be proud of.
Old Saul. You know, what that intro made me think of, something they've never really expanded upon. I hope they start to, now that we're seeing bigger outposts come along. Other ground locations outside of these main landing zones. Like, are we going to see a major outpost close by that can be connected by road? Are there other settlements around Hurston that have happened to thrive? Like, they haven't talked about things going on the planets outside of landing zones other than the stuff on the moons and whatnot. I hope they can start to tell us a little bit more about that, set our expectations.
Well,
That is a
how would I
beard.
describe Lorville to somebody who's never seen it?
Lots of crazy stuff happened there. I don't know, man. It's very dusty. Definitely very dusty. Yeah.
I think it would be something that's a place that's very polluted. It would be a place that's very oppressive, but also pretty lively at the same time. People are working there day and night.
Lorville
Yo, this is looking much more. It has New Babbage vibes in terms of the distribution of buildings. Like, you can tell this looks a lot more like how New Babbage looks as a city than old Lorville looked, which is good. I mean, there's a lot more variety in the buildings and stuff. And oh, that fog.
It's essentially a mega city. It's sprawling, it's huge. And it's on a Stanton 1 planet inside the Stanton system.
The story of Lorville, I know that it's been, it was built by a company, a family business.
It's good they're doing this because who here thought of Lorville as a megacity? I didn't. I don't know why my hand's up. I didn't. Lorville looks tiny when you're flying into it. It feels small compared to the other cities. And overall, it just, even when you're walking around in it, it still gives you the feeling of a mid-sized city. So this is needed if that's what they're trying to sell.
It's ruled by the Hurston family. And it's a very authoritarian regime.
Place that's very expensive in the scale of it.
Reminds you a little bit of 1984, that kind of stuff, maybe.
Wow.
Also a little bit of a Tyrell Corporation from Blade Runner, something like
It's like
that.
a highway going through there
That's
of
what
trains.
comes to my mind when I think of Lorville, yeah.
Oh, okay. See, now this is a different perspective. We don't get to see this perspective too much, and this kind of emphasizes the fact that this is a city that's been built up upon the land. They showed this in the concept images, and this isn't how the city looks already. You just drive straight into the city from the ground entrance. So I wonder how they're going to handle ground entrances if they're still on the ground and they're just kind of working it into the depth of the city or what's going to happen, but that is a different perspective than we usually get of Lorville.
So a landing,
Imagine your apartment. Oh my gosh. I'm sorry I'm stopping so much. I'm enjoying this. Imagine your apartment's like on this side of this building. Your whole view is just like the inside of another building. Gosh. These are all like the mid-level executives in Hurston that just have to suck it up and be the absolute worst to get their promotion. Yeah, I'll live right underneath your office, sure. Bummer.
So a landing zone like Lorville is a hub for the players. It has many services. There's the hubs, the habitations, and from there, like they can spawn. There's the hospitals. There's shops. There's missions.
There's obviously multiple areas and some new areas as well.
When you're arriving from your ship, the first thing you're gonna see is, you're gonna see the CBD, of course.
Central Business District. And this is where the Hurston family oversees the city.
There's the spaceport that obviously has a lot of the transit line going to. You can also go to the L19 where there's obviously some residential.
Leading up from like the center, we have like those transit lines that are like going in different directions.
They really got to update those train models. They're not looking great anymore.
From the center of the city, and from there's many districts inside the inner city. In the inner city, we represent the different classes of the residents of Lorville. There's areas where there's more wealth. These are like higher up top, and they have like gold cladding on their buildings. And we have like lower areas that are like closer to the industrial areas. And it's mainly residential and commercial. We have like lots of opportunities for branding. The branding comes mainly from Nicolas Fortin's team. So we partnered with them, and they come up like with new brands.
They've got a freaking ad for the plastic bag. Holy crap. That is a thing that we can wear in game, right? That such a great idea for merch. Who's gonna make it? And look at that. That thing looks stylish. Breathe a little easier. Geisen ink. Like, yes.
In turn, the environment art team helped to integrate those into billboards and holograms.
I like the ads. They're good.
Throughout the city. So the areas like the CBD, the L19 at the spaceport, you're all familiar.
For context, anybody who's watching this and is just confused, Hurston is a terribly dirty place, if you haven't noticed from what they've been saying. So there are some people who actually, like you see in current day, to some extent, they wear a bag that filtrates the air because it's so dirty in the city. That's what that was all about.
Familiar with. These haven't changed. They just moved slightly because they were already up to a quality that still works today. And what we've worked on is the connecting tissue between those to make like the
crap.
city feel actually
This is also kind of nuts because this is System 1. Like we know that this is going to continue to get better because they're still needing to build out the systems that build this stuff. More art assets, building interiors, new gameplay additives, UGFs. All of this stuff is going to keep getting better as they add each system. So if this is what Stanton looks like, 4 or 5 systems down the line when we're getting Terra, I can't even imagine. I know. Yeah, 3 decades, sure, for whatever. It's going to be a while, but still, this looks great.
big size compared to what it was.
Buildings are now much higher, but you're also going to see how the city now extends further away, a little bit like tentacles, right? And it spreads out into those smaller islands. We call them islands. Those are the industrial islands.
So they've talked about these being neighborhoods, but not really talked about what that means. I'm guessing these will be mission locations mostly. Yeah, these might be like the additional islands they have in Orison where we go to fight Ninetales and stuff might be industrial versions of that on the outskirts of the city. I hope they give us more. Maybe
Let's
today.
say you start from the spaceport and you want to travel outside towards the industrial islands. First of all, they're much further away.
What was that?
And you want to travel outside towards the
That is so cool. I'm sure this is just some kind of parallax effect they're doing, but like the way this looks like it opens down into the city.
industrial islands. First of all, they're much further away, but they're still connected. You know, they connected using pipelines from the city to the outskirts. And once you get to the industrial islands, you can see, you know, it's filled with chimneys, lots of activities happening there.
So maybe these aren't the neighborhoods. Sorry, these are just some other assets they have.
It really shows, you know, the might that is Hurston Dynamics and the Hurston family itself. Yeah, I think that's a good answer.
So making Lorville was not like a straight line. There was many like challenges, and we didn't really have expectations of what we could achieve or not achieve. We just went with our feelings, what kind of city we wanted to build, basically.
You know, we tried to create a certain variety of colors inside the city, but overall it remains pretty gray. But at the same time, it's also pretty dusty. You know, it reflects the pollution, how industrial the city is.
And in the end, like we're just like driving that point that it's like heavily polluted or authoritarian, and that it's in everything we do.
Lighting is very important when you're coming to a location. Where one of the last part that the artist will do, it really brings the life to all the previous work that the environment artist did.
Lighting drives the eye. It makes us look at places, and it just like enhances the contrasts, and we get like a whole better look through that lighting.
The lighting really, it brings it.
City looks phenomenal. It looks great. I mean, it definitely gives the feeling of it being in a city more. I think this really draws attention to building interiors, because now they've got this great skyline with all these amazing views, and I mean, it's clearly one of the best looking areas in the game now. But all of these areas, you only see them from 1,000 meters away, flying at, 200 meters per second. Now we need to start getting reasons to be up on these rooftops or up in these buildings, looking at these vistas. And I know that's constantly adding more and more to the workload of what these cities are. But like, if you've got this kind of asset, you're going to spend all the time to build it out so it's not just a backdrop. You need to put missions and activities in there so that we have a reason to realize it's not a backdrop and make the most use of it. So I look forward to hopefully hearing more focus on getting missions into these buildings and making us use these cities more. Now that they've got all of them into I think all of them into a place they could use them. Maybe Area 18 might need something to update it. But I think all the cities are pretty good now that Lorville's updated.
In the whole atmosphere. And during the night, we want to bring that feeling of liveliness to the city.
Yeah, night is pretty badass with all the new buildings, the taller buildings, the windows and everything. Little red lights, blinking red lights across the city. As a player, when you come in and you see these giant structures, but also these little lights, it really shows, okay, this is a really big building. Try to put a lot of small details, small elements like street lights, containers, also a little bit of some pathways for vehicles to move around. That really helps to solidify the idea that, this is a giant city, giant facilities that are being built inside the city. And
This might be I think I said this a couple weeks ago, this might be the first cinematic I make in game in a long time. This looks good.
It's huge.
There's a lot of different viewpoints right now. So you'll be able to appreciate it from a lot of different distances and viewpoints, even if you're far away.
Still a very bustling city, lots of activities happening. You can also see people taking the train, the transit to move around the city to, get from their habs to their workplace.
The lighting on the transit line has been really, really improved. You'll have a lot more to see when you're going through these different lines. And I think it's going to be very exciting.
It's not just the lights in the city, but also in the industrial islands. Even though they're a bit further away, they have these giant, I call them cauldrons. It's like burning some sort of material. It's very orangey. It glows a lot. I think you can actually see them from outer space. Lighting at night with those cauldrons. It's really amazing looking.
The atmosphere is really important as well. It gives like the depth that we need inside the city. It makes things like feel believable, and like it adds this layer of realism.
Lorville during the day is very, very polluted, obviously. So when you get into the city, there are very thick layer of clouds. And when you get through these clouds, it's like getting into a new world.
Okay, see, that's
a different world. They cover the top of the building. It's very impressive.
That's what I've been waiting to hear, because they've got this concept art from back in the day when we first saw Lorville, and you see the Hurston building, and then you see the clouds, like this dirty layer of clouds like right over it, and it just sets the vibe. Oh my gosh, and that's what I've been waiting to know. Are they going to match that? Are they going to give us the lower clouds? They've been kind of, teasing it a little bit, flirting with it. I hope this is what it looks like in game though, because this is beautiful. I'd love to come through those clouds and the city opens up beneath you, and sometimes it's clear, sometimes it's not. Yes. Thank you.
In a different world, they cover the top of the building. It's very impressive. They just bring so much to the atmosphere. They really, really kind of put that finish on the daylighting.
Sunlight doesn't actually always touch the ground. Everything's a little bit in the shade because of the smoke, the smog, the atmosphere. It's so thick.
I'm actually also surprised that these shots, I think this is a very unique shot they picked, but this actually sells the scale of the building. Didn't really get that before. They did a good job here. I know I keep saying it. I obviously really like pretty things.
Shade because of the smoke, the smog, the atmosphere. It's so thick, you can't really see into the horizon. How many buildings is there? It's pretty claustrophobic, even though it's a giant city. But if you look really far away, you can't really see where it ends because of the atmosphere.
Chris did a great job on the day atmosphere, and it looks very, very unhealthy, I would say, to be there in that atmosphere for very long.
VFX, they did a great job with especially the chimneys, the amounts of smoke that the industrial zones are creating. It really emphasizes the pollution aspect to how they do business in Hurston. Lighting definitely with the new atmosphere looks really much different, and it really showcases the ominous feeling of the city.
The whole composition of the city works through with lighting just hand in hand. Without lighting, like everything looks a bit flat.
And so it's very important in that process to bring kind of the final look.
Is that freaking water? Is there water by the city now? Where's that shot from above that they did? I don't remember there being water next to Lorville currently. Down here, I guess. Does this reach the buildings? Where is that? That's interesting. I mean, cool. It looks really cool, and honestly, this gives me kind of Cyberpunk 2077 vibes. But okay.
To bring kind of the final look, to bring it alive.
Is it water? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that's just the ground, and I'm crazy.
From what the concept art originally kind of said about the location.
They just gonna hit us with a sizzle reel now?
The biggest change from the old Lorville to the new is the scale of those buildings, and they feel much more integrated.
Gosh, dang! They should do a wipe over view of that. Maybe I'll edit that in to my video this weekend. Holy, what? That's basically the same angle, right? Because this building's in the same spot.
Lorville to the new is the scale of those buildings, and they feel
I guess they kind of maybe raised the floor a little bit too, but geez, that is a drastic change.
much more integrated, lifelike as a city. And that was one of the reasons at the beginning why we wanted to change Lorville.
Their practices of building these cities changed so much since 2017. Oh my
Was to
gosh.
get like that proper scale throughout the city, and that feeling that basically can make you feel like it's a real city. Making the buildings at the correct scale can enable us later to create interiors for those buildings. And so in that sense, Lorville will be ready for that. Getting close to the city, like especially while flying, like the feeling is just so great. We've lowered the restricted zone as much as we can, and we can really get close to the buildings now. The size of those windows are like true to real life size of windows. The scale of things feels like really good.
And soon we'll be inside those windows watching people fly by. It's crazy. It's nuts.
Level design definitely also plays a role inside the city. We try to make sure that players, if they want to fly their ship around buildings or into some of these areas that we call trenches, level design reminded us to, keep some openings so that players can move around them easily. On our side, we also made sure that you can navigate in some of those structures, those trenches. You can do slaloms around those pipelines. And, maybe some of those areas could
You're gonna get to see amazing racing videos through here.
become potential racetracks for the future,
Yeah.
Lorville will have like racing opportunities, I think, because now there's like tunnels, there's cranes, there's sky bridges, there's like big straddle frames, and these can create target points for basically for racing.
Okay, so the gates are still on the ground. So they figured out something that they could do to keep that consistent.
For me, the greatest thing was seeing the team come together and pitch ideas and deliver on those challenges and those ideas.
It's been a lot of work from every department, and especially in lighting, I think it's been a big project that we've worked on. And there's so much details that's been put on every one of these areas. And I think I'll be really excited to see how people react to this. I think it's something that people have been expecting for a long time.
I think for the player, the fact that we can go around these areas, whether it's land vehicles or, we're using spaceships, fly around these structures, I think it's going to be a good experience, yeah.
I hope the players appreciate the new Lorville, just the sheer scale, and that it feels like you can see Lorville from Everest station. So it makes it like a big impact, I think.
I mean, you already can right now. I have a shot. I'll put it up on the screen for this, but like if you look, you can see the city from the station right now. And look at how much bigger it just got. Like it's gonna look larger than New Babbage for sure. From their station, it'll look bigger from, I don't even think you can see the city from Port Olisar. And Area 18, I think you can kind of see, but this is definitely going to be the most noticeable city from space now. Whew. Ooh, boy.
And I hope that the players notice.
Oh, we will. Yeah.
So what did we learn this week? Well, we learned that a landing zone is more than just the three-dimensional geo that forms it. It's that confluence where narrative, level design, branding, lighting, and atmospheric artistry meet commerce, residents, and a foundation for future gameplay opportunities like racing, mission interiors, and more. And that this newest evolution of Lorville is scheduled to make its way to you in next month's Alpha 319.
Okay, 319.
For Inside Star Citizen, I'm Jared Huckabee. Thanks for exploring the process of game development with us, and we'll see you all here next week.
No shave till 319. If I was able to, if it mattered to me, I might try that. Normally the whole "what did we learn this week" thing, looks like there is more. Hold on, we'll see what else is there. I've got something to say.
Vacation was good. Paris, London, saw some shows. Saw Phantom. You were right. It was great. It actually kind of reminded me of you because you can't see your you both got the same beautiful singing voice.
It's not bad. So I kind of agree with him on the whole what did we learn thing. I've been thinking, how do they make these cities diverse enough and interesting and different enough from each other when they're only using like 4 or 5 different art styles? And clearly you can, I mean, that was a lot of the same kit that they used in some of the other places. You can tell that there was a lot of inspiration there from both New Babbage and Arcorp. It looked like a bash of both those cities, but the fact that there was like the lower fog, the industrial effects, the lower clouds, the just general authoritarian vibe, like it definitely is differentiated enough that it's a unique experience, I think, at least looking at it. And I think flying into it, there's more stuff they can do. So it does make me feel better about their ability to create different cities using the same assets in the future and like different outposts. That was always something I was kind of worried about. And this doesn't mean that they're completely good to go, but it helps with the confidence. This was also just like a 15-minute sizzle reel of B-roll and nice-looking Lorville. Obviously, it's a completely art-related asset. There was nothing really that they could say in this video. It was a lot of repetition of just like, this is the vibe of the city. Here's what it looks like. Here's why we made it. I do appreciate seeing new faces and hearing their own thought process behind it. And I can see where they were coming from with it because it translates beautifully. But fact of the matter is, this is mostly art-related. So like I said at the beginning, I look forward to seeing how they can now implement other features into something like this. It's great to see them building locations now with a lot of this gameplay and the complications of the game in mind, as opposed to how they built Lorville back in 2017. And I think that is also a good sign of their improvements. But you'll hear more about my thoughts on that in the video coming out this week. So make sure to stay tuned on the main channel. Check out my video about Lorville. I will see you next week, and best of luck on the journey to 319. Hopefully the game gets a little more stable for everyone. Have a good day. Catch you later.